podcast.
Hello and welcome to PMC English. This is Ayushi and welcome to yet another episode of podcast. In the previous episode of podcast, we discussed about few of the comments and few of the queries that we got. In this episode, we are going to continue with the same comments that we got in our previous episodes. So let us welcome Mr. Veda Vyas in this episode of podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Ayushi.
In the previous episode, we answered few of the comments and there are few more comments. So starting with, again we got this comment in the episode of how to control bad temper. So he says that according to me, Ayushi ma'am, if you have control over the person or the organization, that how much they can interfere in your life or your work, you won't face any anger issues or bad temper. Life is not all about accepting whatever comes to us. So this is one part of the comment that we got.
I think it makes sense. The problem you had was you are too afraid of being a puppet to take that control over the people and organizations.
Yes.
The moment you let go of the fear, you really had that control.
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense. There's nothing problem.
And the next is that he says that it's about what we think we deserve. We are the architect of our own destiny, not just accepting what comes. You are independent until and unless you think that you are independent. Interdependency is what you require here in whatever you have raised a question.
I didn't understand, somewhere lost it.
Yeah. So he is basically talking about the being independent, interdependency, not being dependent on others.
It's more like a comment and suggestion to you rather than a question. So what do you feel about it?
In a way, it is right that we are the architect of our own destiny. We need not follow the footprints of others. But here he says that not just accepting what comes. So is it that way that we shouldn't accept whatever comes our way?
You tell me.
Because generally what I do is that I go with the flow rather than thinking about what comes my way or what needs to come in my way. So is it right in that way?
No, the question I want to ask is, do you have any control of what is going to come your way?
Not really.
So if you don't accept what's coming in your way, what other option do you have? Because that's a fact, that's a reality, that's happening.
Yes.
Whether you like it or not, it's happening. Okay, I don't accept, so what? Reality is not going to change because I don't accept it. Now the question is the difference between accepting and not accepting the reality as it is coming. Yeah. So how would I behave if I don't accept the reality? Right. How would I behave?
For me, it's like, okay, either way it's okay. If I'm accepting that way, it's fine. If it is not happening the way I want it to be or the way I imagine things to be, I'm still okay with that. So that is how I take. But for the people who doesn't take it that way.
That's what I'm saying. See, here the context is a control.
Yes.
It's not about the situation.
Yeah.
The control is when a person wants things to be happening in a certain way.
Yes.
If things go according to them,
yes,
then things are okay. Yeah. If they don't go,
yes,
what should we do? That's the context, right?
it is.
So if they don't go, what will happen to me?
We addressed this earlier also that usually when it comes to me, I used to get anger and irritated.
Irritated.
Yes.
So typically people do that.
Yeah.
But there is a space between that. Before getting angry, there is another emotion that comes into picture. Before getting into anger, if things don't go away, then either it is humiliation or hurt.
Yes.
Humiliation because we think that world should respect me. And world doesn't respect me. People don't listen to me. People don't make things happen the way I want.
Yes.
So I am humiliated.
Yes.
That's why I am angry.
Yes.
Another way is I trusted people to make it this way, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Then I get
hurt.
So these are not the only two things, but these are more typical things that happen.
Yes.
And because I am hurt, now I am angry.
Yes.
Now it's irritating.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So the question here is, do we have control really, or is it imagined?
In a way, it's imagined.
So it's not even imagined, it's more like a fear. Fear of things not going in your way. In other words, it's called perfectionism.
Also, it might be because they are just in a fantasy world that, things are like this, things are
People
like
will not
that.
like calling them you are in fantasy world, but simply understand that these people, it's very painful for them, either because of hurt or humiliation, because that's very important to them for things to go their way. That's it. The real fact is that the pain is there. That pain is controlling the whole situation. That pain is creating this irritation and anger. And because of that pain and this irritation and anger, things actually go against them.
Yeah.
So if you are irritated and angry and hurt and all these emotions are coming into play because things are not going as per you, will you have space to actually have control over people and situation to correct that?
No.
We'll just lash out. And if we lash out and become emotional, other people will also
take charge over it.
No, they will also lash out.
Yeah.
Okay? They will become emotional for them too.
Yes.
And if hurt, anger, everything is it's become, where is the control? You lost the control. But if you step back a moment and acknowledge that this situation is making me humiliated, this situation is making me sad, just acknowledge. Then what happens? Then you have tiny bit of control more than before. If we are able to really address where this humiliation and pain or sadness is coming from, it's not coming from this situation at all. This situation might not have that gravitas to create so much emotion. It's actually accumulated from the past.
Yeah.
It's been programmed into the person. So then that issues, when those things are cleared off, then the person will be able to have that space at that moment to really think, is it worth getting angry here?
But that is only possible when we find the cause root of it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. When we are speaking about in the context of addressing your root cause, we did that. And for you it is easy to accept because you have gone through it. The objective of these sessions is not to solve people's problems. Objective of session is to show that problems can be solved this way. There is a possibility.
Yes.
Just by looking at your problems being solved, they may or may not be able to solve their own. It might not even feel like unrealistic. How can this happen?
Right.
We are only showing a possibility. So when the root cause is addressed, you will have a lot more control and you are much better way of addressing situations. When we are affected by that pain of hurt or humiliation and getting into anger and not accepting the reality of the situation, then we keep losing control over the situation. That is a fact. They can actually, every person who goes through, if you ask them in a right space where they will not get humiliated, where they feel safe to look into themselves, then they know that this is true.
There are people who find it very difficult to find this root cause, because when they sit to observe themselves, to find what is actually triggering them, they're not able to find that out.
Yes, that's what I said. There are some things you'll be able to find root cause by yourself. For other things you'll need help. So you should be open to taking that help.
Yes.
So if you have a problem with meditation, if you say to yourself, maybe in 10 years you'll be able to solve it by yourself. But do you have the time? No. So what do? You go to your meditation teacher and discuss, this is what I'm facing, how. Then they'll give you guidance, right? So you are open to taking that help.
Yes.
So you have to find right people to help you.
Right. So this was the question from Mr. Rudra Rao. So he had these queries after he watched our episode of how to handle the bad temper. So what is that one thing that, or the feedback you want to give to Mr. Rudra Rao, as he had many concerns, right from being a puppet or closing your eyes and thinking that the problem might get solved, because he used to think that closing our eyes, it's like running away from that particular situation and being a coward. So what is your feedback to him?
First, I want to acknowledge that he has really thought about and he reached out with his comments. So I really appreciate him coming forward and putting these and wanting answers and questioning, because that's the way we grow.
Yes.
Right? And second, we have already addressed in each question what we are saying. But first thing that people need to acknowledge that whenever we feel strong about something, know that we are emotional about it. Right? So there is certain emotion inside us, and usually that emotion is related to pain. Pain creates more stronger emotions, more stronger feelings about something. This should be this way, or this is right. So acknowledge that it's coming from pain. You are not unique in having these questions. You are not unique in having this suffering. Suffering is common in this life. Pain is common in this life. Everybody is facing it. But you have reached out and you have tried to find more answers. So that is something that everybody should do. They should not just keep on trying themselves. If they try, that's also a path. There's nothing wrong with it. But if people reached out more to each other, to address, to exchange, to understand what are different possibilities, then world will be a better place. Okay? So one thing is we need to be more compassionate to ourselves and others. That is the motto I feel, that if we give ourselves space to be ourselves, apart from the pain that we are, apart from the suffering that we have, life will be much more easier. And to create that is this whole struggle, when we reach out to each other to ask these questions and put that emotions, that situations on the plate so that they can be really, we can understand where this is coming from. So once we understand where it's really coming from, it's not easy to accept it. But if you go through that and go to the next level, then suddenly that pain disappears and life becomes much more easier. So this is not about giving suggestions. This is not about showing you how you should live your life. We are not here. I try to minimize telling what things are. Sometimes some topics, some sessions are general and we might cover such things. But most of the time we are here showing the possibility of different level of living, where you can really address your pains and things can be dynamically different. Like the word in the industry, they call it disruption. So disruption is something in industry that if you drastically change a technology, the world changes. So we are trying to show you that there is a disruptive way of improving ourselves. That is the objective here. It is not to tell you how to live. It is not a suggestive thing that you should do this, you shouldn't do this. It's not about saying that I should close my eyes and I imagine that things are not there, or I should go and fight people. Either of it is fine with me. It's your choice, your decision. It's okay. Even I make such decisions and I'm okay with that. The point is how we are going to handle the consequences. Will they be more painful to us or less painful to us? Where these struggles begin with, that's what we are trying to explore here. Decisions are not my, where is the decision coming from? I can show you that. What decision you should take is up to you. That's not my domain. It's your life. You have to take responsibility for it. So thank you for asking these amazing questions, and I wish you good luck in your life and hope this helped.
I hope that Mr. Rudraroy, if you're watching this episode, all your queries have been answered by Mr. Veda Vyas. And to all the other viewers who still have queries and want to clarify with Mr. Veda Vyas, then they can comment, and they can also join in our upcoming new series with Mr. Veda Vyas, where we are inviting all the general public to come here in our studio and get all their queries clarified from Mr. Veda Vyas. So with this is Ayushi Farasi signing off. Stay tuned to PMC English for more updates.
Podcast.